Well, hello there.
Hey.
Welcome back to Warframe. So this time we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go examine the new Warframe Zephyr.
Kinky.
Thanks for that input, you magnificent bastard. Now, before we get started, I'd just like to briefly explain. Zephyr is the first air-themed type flying Warframe, and it has a unique focus on mobility, unlike any others so far. Especially Rhino. So as a small starting off point, I'd like to point out that feather physics on the head, they feel kind of unrealistic. They look like hunky metal things attached to my head. I mean, not that it really matters. Other than the feathers, the Warframe as a whole is pretty beautifully badass. It has a lot more detail than pretty much any other of the ones. The head feathers might look clunky, but that's pretty much the only issue. The feathers on the arms even look like wings, and she has talons, for crying out loud. She's so beautiful.
She got them curves.
But I'm sure watching this to understand more about the actual gameplay. So the first move is called Tailwind, and there are two main ways to use it. The first time you use it, you vault straight up into the air. If you're already in the air, you vault exactly where your cursor's pointing, doing small damage to any enemies in your path. But, you could just save 25 energy by jumping first. When you first get Zephyr, the Tailwind ability is a bit disappointing, but once you max it out, it becomes it's one of my favorite moves. It's so cool. There seems to be a glitch in update 12.0.5 where you don't fly as far if you're not the host. Yeah. Her second move, Dive Bomb, is the only one that currently works completely in all situations, and it used to be the most broken. Oh, the irony. When used, Zephyr slams either foot first or head first, depending on how high you up, which is kind of cool. Dealing knockback damage, and it scales by how high you are when you use it, which is actually a really cool thing, and it's one of the only moves that can only be used mid-air. Her third move, Turbulence, is one of my personal favorites. She creates a sort of windshield that stops bullets and redirects them at energies. It's very effective at higher levels and can be used to revive fallen allies. If an ally is inside the windshield, it actually protects them too, so it's kind of like a mini snow globe. Also, it works with constant fire weapons, so if a bunch of fusion moas attack you at once, it's like a ridiculous light show. The fourth move, Tornado, is my favorite move in Zephyr's arsenal. She creates 1 to 4 tornadoes, depending on how much you've leveled it up, that sweep up many enemies unlucky enough to cross their path, and makes them do a painful-looking dubstep dance on the ceiling while they quickly die. Also, you can make the tornadoes any element that you hit them with for increased effectiveness. Zephyr's a very mobile frame, and I kind of like how mobile she is. I also like that she can do different kinds of damage, like smashing the ground, bullet reflecting, and giant tornadoes of dubstep and paint. One unfortunate side effect is that of 12.0.5, her third move has some coloring issues, and the tornadoes can't be made elemental or use your energy color unless you're the host, which looks really ugly. I'd recommend hosting. Hi guys, I just want to show you real quick how I plan on modding Zephyr. Well, first you take your physique, or infested impedance, or rejuvenation's going to go here once it's maxed out. Depending on what you're doing, I recommend infested impedance for infested, and rejuvenation in all other situations. Or you could just take a forma and fix the polarity to do whatever you want. Anyway, you always want to put in your all 4 abilities. Zephyr relies heavily on her abilities because, it's the extreme mobility. You want to max out Tailwind, Turbulence, and Tornado instantly. Those are the first 3 things you want pimped. Then Dive Bomb is depending on how much you use it and how much you're outside, really. I don't use that much, but it's still a very useful, cool ability. So you want a Focus mod for extra power, which affects all of her abilities, and Continuity does the same. Flow is very important because as a caster class, she has relatively low, I wanted to say mana, but power. Energy. She has very low energy for a caster class. And Streamline because obviously it gives you a much better usage of all those abilities. Oh, and I know what you're all saying. Throw Heavy Impact on. Throw Heavy Impact on. Heavy Impact would be the best mod ever. Unfortunately, it isn't. Hate to break it to you. Zephyr actually suffers from being lighter than all the other Warframes, very much so. You can tell she has a lot of reduced gravity, higher jumping, falls slower. So she actually has to fall from a much greater height, usually above the sky limit, to even utilize Heavy Impact. So unfortunately, it's not a very good option. But Dive Bomb does the same thing for the cost of little energy and more damage.
I know you all thought my job was to just sit here and look pretty, but I'm here to talk more about Zephyr's role in the group, and more about how she affects other players. The thing is though, is that she doesn't seem to have a designated job in the group, whereas Frost is for defense and Ember's for crowd control or whatever. There isn't really a specific role for Zephyr though, but that doesn't mean she isn't amazingly helpful. Imagine in the game when you're separated from your team, whether from just getting surrounded by Grenier, or you're just one of those douchebags who for some reason just try to run as fast as possible through the level, don't bother sticking with the group or whatever. Either way, you end up knocked down on the ground, bleeding out, and you just watch the timer slowly go down, knowing there's nothing you can do when and out comes Zephyr, falling from the heavens, just the last second to save your bacon. Then you get back up, and you turn to say thanks, and he's gone. Just like Batman, presumably to go deliver his boots of justice of the asses of Grenier everywhere.
Anyway, after my examination, I have concluded that Zephyr may need small tweaking with the issues, and it needs bug fixes, but is a pretty much all-around wonderful frame that can be utilized in almost any situation. It's one of my favorites. Alright, use as many prescriptions of Oxycontin you need to make this frame ASAP.